Is English really a Germanic language? Hello, and welcome. Today we're gonna learn from Rob's channel again. RobWords is the channel's name, and I have already watched a video about the complications of the German language. I really liked it. I like Rob's channel so much, and I have gotten a recommendation of one of my Patreons from my second channel to watch this video that is called, wait, this is the German title. Oh, that's also the German title. Over here you can see it from other guys' reactions. Is English really a Germanic language? Is it? I don't know yet. So we are going to watch this video and learn. And I will give you my input from the German perspective, and he will give you the input of an English person's perspective. So we'll have both in this video. Come and join us and we'll learn together. So I'm gonna make two parts out of it, and today we're gonna watch the very first one. If you like my content and you have been watching this video or other videos and you really like it, maybe consider subscribing, liking the video, or hyping it on your mobile phone and help me out a little bit. My channel is really small at the moment still, and I'm at the beginning of my journey and I could really use your help. So if you enjoy watching my videos, consider subscribing, please. Now let's jump into the video.
This is the Germanic language family tree, and look, there's English. English has Germanic blood pulsing through its veins, and yet most of the words in our language are not Germanic. What's going on there then? How Germanic is English really? Let's find out in another RobWords. So the first thing we need to do is to establish what we mean by a Germanic language. And to answer that, we need to go back in time, because the vast majority of the languages of Europe, and some Asian languages too, can be traced back to a single ancestral language. A language spoken by a group of people probably living somewhere around the Black Sea absolutely ages ago, like 5,000 years ago or more. We call that language Proto-Indo-European, which means earliest or original Indo-European, because its speakers would go on to spread across two continents, taking their way of speaking with them. However, as they dispersed over hundreds of years, the way that each disparate group spoke changed, and in differing ways, therefore creating the language families that we have today. For example, in Southern Europe, we have the Romance languages descended from Latin, which in turn is descended from Proto-Indo-European. In Eastern Europe, we have the Slavic languages, which share a common ancestor that's descended from Proto-Indo-European. And in Northern Europe, we have the Germanic languages, all of which share a common ancestor we call Proto-Germanic, which is descended from Proto-Indo-European.
Okay, I get it.
This family is English, as well as Icelandic, Swedish, Dutch, and of course, German. Now I say, of course, German, because it has to be there, doesn't it? They're the Germanic languages, aren't they? But we do need to be a bit careful here. It'd be easy to presume, I think, that German is somehow more Germanic than the other Germanic languages, or even the original Germanic language from which the others, including English, are descended. But it's not. You see, we've got ourselves in a bit of a bind in English, because we've decided to call this country that I'm standing in right now Germany, and the language most commonly spoken here German, using a word that we got from the Romans. But we also call the shared culture across Northern Europe Germanic, making the words German and Germanic very easily confused. Now, for example, in German,
I didn't know that.
such confusion exists, because though they also call that shared culture Germanic or Germanisch, they refer to their own language not as German, but as Deutsch. Now, ideally, we'd take their lead on this and stop calling Germany Germany, but call it an anglicised version of what the Germans call it. So, Dutchland, I suppose. But that would make the language, therefore, Dutch. And then what are we going to call Dutch? We're going to call it Netherlandic? I don't know. It starts to get a bit messy, doesn't it? Anyway, I'm getting into all of this just to say that because a language is Germanic does not mean it is descended from German. English
That's so interesting. Also, I have read this expression Germanic in the comment section of my videos over and over and over again. I didn't look into it what it actually meant, but I have read it several times before, and it all starts to make sense while watching this video. It's very, very interesting what's happening in my head at the moment. That's all I'm saying.
Anyway, I'm getting into all of this just to say that because a language is Germanic does not mean it is descended from German. English is not descended from German. Certainly not High German, which is the proper name for the dialect of German that we commonly call just German. However, English is more closely
Really?
related to German than many of the other Germanic languages because it hangs off the same branch of the Germanic language family tree alongside Dutch and Frisian and some others too. They're called the West Germanic languages, and we have this family relationship with them because of where English sprung from. You see, before English was in England, it was in continental Europe in the form of a variety of now long dead West Germanic dialects, and these were spoken in the same little bit of Europe from which languages like Dutch and German would also spring. These dialects were then brought over to Britain by the Angles, the Saxons, the Jutes, the Frisians, where they combined to create a language sometimes called Anglo-Saxon, but more often these days called Old English. This is Old English, and to the modern eye and ear, it's basically gibberish. But over 1500 years or
Of
so,
what? I can't even read a single word of that. I'm trying to I'm trying to find at least one. Oh, him. Maybe this one, him, might be the only word. Oh, there is him again. I guess that's an wait, Landum. That sounds more German, even though it's not, but it sounds like it. Interesting. I know there is Old German as well. This is not only an English thing. I mean, language has always evolved over time and changed. I have also found a video that goes from the modern English to the Old English, and you can watch it alongside them and find out up until which point you still understand what they're saying. While the video goes on, it gets harder and harder and harder to still understand what they're saying. I found the video and I will watch it, but it was just released on YouTube and I don't want to react to really new videos because I want to give all the clicks to the actual people who made the video. I don't want to take them away from them. But maybe in half a year or so I can like watch the video and react to it, and I'm looking forward to it because it sounds like I don't understand a word of what's written there. I don't. This is so funny how language has changed. And we had a big discussion over the genders in our German language, whether to change several words into a more inclusive word by using this little star. I don't know how it's called in English, and then put the male and the female version into one word so that it's easier to include everyone. And there were so many discussions where people said, no, that this is not German. German is this way. It's always been this way. And I always felt like, do those people not know that language wasn't always the same? Like, go and read a book like we did with the last video of Rob, where he was reading parts of a very, very old book that was written in, I don't even remember when it was written, I'm sorry, but very, very far away from our time. And the German was so different than what it is nowadays. So I don't really understand those people who are like, German is what German is, and we can't change it due to the fact that we now want to involve everyone, blah, 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 blah. Language has always evolved. Just let it evolve even further. It's evolving at the moment. You can really see it. It's getting more and more English, the German language. Younger people use way more English nowadays than my generation did because they're growing up in an international setting. They're growing up with movies and international like English speaking YouTube channels or TikTok or whatever is out there. And their German language has really changed. Look at the youth word, the German youth word that they pick every single year. Most of them are English now. So language has always evolved. And it seems as if German is evolving into English. Kinda. Okay, let's continue.
But over 1500 years or so, this is what developed into the English we speak today, and it is irrefutably Germanic. No stray French words in here, the occasional Latin word, sure, because the Romans had not long left the area, but really, Old English is perhaps easier for a modern German speaker to understand than even a modern English speaker. It shares the three
Indiosse, Abudisan, Minstre, Wisam. Okay, I don't want to know. No, I'm sorry. I'm butchering all of this. No, I don't want to do that.
the area, but really, Old English is perhaps easier for a modern German speaker to understand than even a modern English speaker. It shares the three grammatical genders that remain in German,
I
and
didn't
speakers of
understand a
modern
word of that.
Dutch and even more so Frisian would also have a better chance of comprehending some Old English vocab than someone who only speaks modern English. Old English is a fully signed up, card-carrying member of the West Germanic language family. It's as Germanic as this German forest that I'm standing in. It was written with runes, for goodness sake. Or the win. But if our language has changed beyond all recognition since then, to the point where we simply can't understand Old English anymore, is it possible that English is no longer so Germanic? Well, it's not an unreasonable question. Here is a pie chart showing the origins of all the words in English today. And
Oh, Latin 29%, Germanic 26, French 29 as well, and others. I have noticed that French is very present in English as well, even though I don't speak French. But some expressions sound French. Latin, not really though. I haven't noticed. And Germanic, yeah, kinda. That's a very interesting graph. I hope he's gonna explain it a little more.
pie chart showing the
Or
origins
making
of all the words
examples.
in
I
English
need
today.
examples.
And look, the majority of words are not of Germanic origin. Combined Romance words from Latin and French make up the majority. However, we cannot change English's ancestry any more than you or I can change who our biological grandparents are. I can swan around in a stripy jumper and a Roman helmet, but it doesn't give me Romance DNA. English has Germanic DNA. Once more, despite its French clothing, English still shares a great deal with the other Germanic languages, and more than it does with any other languages anywhere. Sticking with vocab, let's look at the words I'm saying right now. The ones of Germanic origin are in red, and the ones from French, Latin, and elsewhere are in blue. And you can see that the vast majority of the words we actually use are Germanic, despite them being overall in the minority. Why? Because the nuts and bolts of English are Germanic. It's a bit lol that Germanic itself isn't Germanic. And if we look at basic words, we see how well English fits in with all the other Germanic languages. A is for apple, and that word would be easily recognizable to a speaker of Icelandic, Swedish.
Wait, I'm gonna rewind real quick. I need to read apple. 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 What is this flag? I don't recognize it. Apfel. Yeah, German. Apple. Eple. Ebel. Epli. Epli. German is the only one of those languages that put an F there for whatever reason. All the other ones have almost similar letters, but Germany's like, yeah, let's just put an F in the middle of that word. It really needs it.
A is for apple, and that word would be easily recognizable to a speaker of Icelandic, Swedish, Dutch, or any of the others. And then there are the fundamental verbs we use all the time, like to come. Look how similar they all are, although...
Okay, kommen, komme, kommen, komma, komme, komme, koma. Koma. That's a German word as well, just like comma. But coma is something completely different. A coma. A coma is a coma in English.
And then there are the fundamental verbs we use all the time, like to come. Look how similar they all are, although we're the odd ones out because we're the only ones who come with a C. And across English's vocabulary, there's another big signifier that it belongs with the Germanic languages. It bears all the hallmarks of something known as Grimm's Law, named after Jakob Grimm, as in the Brothers Grimm of fairy tale fame. Yes, he was a linguist as well. Grimm's Law says that all the Germanic languages, via their common ancestor, went through a series of consonant shifts that made them different from other Indo-European languages and in consistent ways. P sounds became F sounds, T sounds became Th sounds, Cuz became Huz, Buzz became Puz, etc. And English shows clear signs of having been through this. For example, the P to F shift and T to Th shift are the reasons why our father is the equivalent to Latin pater, and the K to H and D to T shifts are why our heart is equivalent to Greek cardia.
Oh.
Latin and Greek didn't go through these uniquely Germanic shifts. However, English did. There are other things about modern English that make it thoroughly Germanic, fascinating things that I'm going to get into in a sec. But did you see how President Trump just signed an order designating English as the official language of the United States? A patriotic move or an attack on multiculturalism? What do you reckon? Well, your view may well have been influenced by...
I'm not gonna say anything about this president. Not gonna go into this topic, so yeah, let's just move on.
A patriotic move or an attack on multiculturalism? What do you reckon? Well, your view may well have been influenced by wherever you heard the news, but with Ground News, who sponsored this video, you get the whole picture.
I get where that Trump
alone,
thing comes
it's brought
from.
Together over 200 articles in a single place to allow us to compare the coverage.
Really good app.
About Ground News is it will tell you how different ends of the political spectrum are treating the same story by comparing the language and perspectives.
I can recommend you getting this app.
Left-leaning outlets stressing the move does nothing to erase the fact that America has tens of millions of Spanish speakers, whereas right-leaning outlets point out that Trump has succeeded where other attempts to establish an official language have failed. It has never been more important to understand the political biases and reliability of your news sources. And the Ground News website and app give you all the tools you
100%.
need. What's more, their blind spot feature makes sure you don't miss stories that only one side of the argument is covering. So if you want to see how language shapes the news and stay fully informed, go to ground.news/RobWords or use my special QR code to get 40% off unlimited access to Ground News like I have.
By the way, Ground News, I'm looking for a sponsor as well.
Thoroughly Germanic. One of them is that we don't have a future tense. Have you ever noticed that? We make the future tense using the present tense of other verbs. And guess what? All the other Germanic languages do the same. None of them has a future tense, unlike all of the Romance languages.
I will eat. Okay, eat. Ich zahl eten. Ich werde essen. Jag ska äta. Jag ska spela. I don't even want to read those because I'm pretty sure I'm butchering that. Okay, understand.
Unlike all of the Romance languages.
Je mangerai, io comeré. I'm not able to speak those languages, but I do speak Italian, so it's mangerò. This one's the easiest one. It's like mangiare means to eat, and mangerò means I will eat.
Here's another one. Have you ever noticed something weird about our numbers? If you count to 20, the teens only begin at 13. Why not one teen and two
I've noticed that, yes.
Well, this reflects an old system of counting that centered around counting to 12 rather than to 10. 12 is much easier to divide up than 10. Plus, our ancestors may well have been doing that thing where, you know, you count with your thumb in the gaps between... my hands are too cold to show you. Hold on. Use your thumb to count the gaps between the joints in your fingers. You see that? 1, 2, 3, and there are 12 of them. Anyway, the use of that system is why we have words for 11 and 12 that are distinct from the formula for 13 upwards. It isn't...
That's true. We do have that in Germany as well. Like 10 is 10, 11 is 11, 12 is 12, and then 13 is 13, 14, 15, 16. Ah, interesting. I didn't know that. Did you know that? Nowadays, we count from 1 to 10, and then back then it was like 1 to 12. Okay. That's something I had no idea of whatsoever.
why we have words for 11 and 12 that are distinct from the formula for 13 upwards. It isn't base 12, so to speak, because from 20 onwards, normal decimal business is resumed. But it is unlike other European counting systems, and it is Germanic. So those are a couple of ways in which English shows off its Germanic roots today, but it also...
Okay, I'm gonna cut it right here because we're at 10 minutes 46, like half the video is watched. I really enjoyed it. I want to continue watching this, and I'm going to right after I have finished this recording. I'm going to watch the second part, but I will release it in a few days for you, so you will have to wait for the second part. However, RobWords' channel is like a goldmine for knowledge. I don't even know how he learns all this stuff so he can present it to us. It's such a great skill to have, to be able to understand all of this, to know where to get the information from, to understand it, and then to put it into video for everyone else to understand in a very easy way. And I have learned so much about not only my own language, but also about the Germanic language in general and about English. And I can't wait for the second part. Did you know all of that? Or was this news to you as well? Because I had no idea any of that existed. I don't know how language has evolved to get to the point where we are at the moment. That's usually not a topic that you look into if you're not really interested in it. So it's very cool to be able to watch YouTube videos about all of those things nowadays, and I love technology for that. I hope you had fun watching this video together with me. Please help me grow my channel by liking and subscribing, and I will see each and every one of you in the next video. Have a nice day. Bye!